Can I do the intro?
Yeah, yes, Pete. You can do the intro.
It's just that ever since we kind of switched the roles here, so I figured I would kind of take out
Take the mantle.
the most important part of the
The
episode
most
structure.
important part. Okay. All
I'm
right.
messing with you. Go ahead.
No, you can do it.
Good evening. Good morning. Good day. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone and everything between, welcome to episode 40X of the Stay Positive podcast. My name is Pete, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host.
The name's Alex. Don't wear it out.
Okay. So that was a good intro, yeah.
Yeah, I give it a 7.5 out of 5.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Anyways, so you told me that you used to have an addiction to soda. You've mentioned this on several occasions.
Addiction's such a strong word, Pete. I'd like to say passionate.
You were just an avid user of
Yes.
the carbonated beverages. We'll say that.
Yes, this is true.
Okay. Why?
It tastes...
Don't say it tastes good.
Okay. Shut up, Pete. You can't read my thoughts. Okay. The truth is, I liked drinking soda and I knew that it wasn't good for you, but I did it anyway. Whereas now I drink like water and seltzer only, exclusively. Like very rare exceptions do I drink anything else, usually like a special occasion like New Year's or birthdays or whatever, where you bust out the good stuff. But we both are really interested in artificial intelligence, about how you program a machine or a robot to perform a task and to like reach a goal. And it got me thinking, what are my goals? And or better question, what were my goals and what are my goals now? So it basically asks, I wanted to think of the questions like why we do what we do, because I was thinking, why would I drink soda if I know it's bad for me? Why would I eat sweets if I know it's bad for me? Why would people do things that aren't good for you, even though you know in your mind that they're not good for you? Like when you program a machine, the machine will do what you're asking it to do as perfectly as it can. And it got me thinking, do we do that? And if the answer is yes, what is our goal? If the answer is no, why not?
I mean, you touched on something that I've mentioned to you before. I don't remember the exact experiment, but there's been an experiment, or experiments for that matter. I think Google has done several where they create obstacle courses, or virtual obstacle courses, and they construct these models and AI algorithms, deep learning frameworks, that they essentially train to learn how to encounter, navigate through those obstacle courses. And sometimes when they don't set certain hyperparameters to certain values and they don't tune it well enough, the algorithm tends to act in funny ways. So one thing that was really interesting was I saw this video of, I'm pretty sure it was Google, and they had developed an algorithm that is supposed to mimic how people run. And so the AI created a humanoid object, for lack of better words, in this sort of virtual reality. So in order to get this humanoid to run, the algorithm has to learn how things run, right? And so they probably trained it on a lot of different video games or just ideas of what it's supposed to look like when it runs, but
images of like how it's supposed to look when it's doing it.
Yeah, I don't really know how they train something like that, because this is also the type of thing that is an unsupervised learning method, the way they did it at least, because they wanted to see if this thing could figure it out on its own
to learn.
You remember the example I gave you between supervised and unsupervised learning, right?
Yeah, you said, how would you survive in a country where you don't know the language?
yeah, their language or the geography, the landscape, just in general. And
And if you were just left alone there, you'd have to learn without any supervision. You're unsupervised learning.
yes, exactly. And supervised learning is more so like me
Uh,
trying to optimize something that I've already done well.
yeah. Or a
So,
teacher teaching a student.
sure. So, anyways, I'm pretty sure that the way they did this was an unsupervised method. And the funniest thing about it, why this is important, is because when this algorithm came out and finally showed the researchers what it had concocted as humanoid running, it was the most absurd thing ever.
Uncanny Valley.
I don't know what that is.
It's when something like looks real but not real enough, so it's weird, really weird. They look like a human running.
Yes and no. So you know the show Attack on Titan.
Yes.
So you know how the Titans run?
Yeah.
It's very, very silly.
They're just flailing.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That is exactly what the algorithm did.
It figured it out.
Yeah, sure. I guess it was the most optimal way for humans to run, but it was weird. It was like the arms of this humanoid figurine in the virtual representation were like flailing up and down and everywhere, and then its legs were half bent. One leg was bent, the other was straight. It was weird, but it got it running. It got it to go.
Okay, so, but that may not necessarily be optimal. That's just what it came up on its own.
Yes. But then they also made virtual obstacles.
And it had to figure out how to proceed.
Exactly. And it
And
did.
It did.
It did. So apparently at least that algorithm, the optimal way for us to run is not having straight legs. I think Usain Bolt would disagree with that, but yeah, for the fact of the matter is that when you give these powerful tools these really open parameters and just allow them to kind of go free range, they end up giving you something that you totally didn't expect at all. And that is, to an extent, interesting because I think that if you give that freedom to something that really does exactly what you want it to do and not in any way, shape, or form doing how you expected it to do it, that's weird.
It's I think weird is the right word because it's not failing successfully, but it's just like it's succeeding in a way you didn't expect it to succeed in.
Yeah. So why do we do what we do when other experimental cases end up doing something entirely different? This is a case study in human psychology versus machine psychology, you could say. There's no such thing as machine psychology right now.
Not yet.
Not yet. Can you imagine if machines become conscious?
That would suck.
Why would it suck?
Because if they know anything about humanity, they're gonna learn pretty fast. We ain't so nice.
I mean, sure, but you also don't know.
That's true.
I'm way too optimistic. I always will believe that there is some way, shape, or form that will end up with the longer end of the stick.
Yeah.
Use
It also
that
brings
term.
up a really dark, deep question. It's like, what if a machine becomes religious?
How's that dark and deep?
Because
How's it dark?
it's dark because, like, we made it, and it knows we made it, but we don't know what made us. So it's like it brings into question what is and what isn't. I guess dark isn't the word. I think existential is the word.
Yeah, it's definitely not dark.
Deep, deep. How about
is
deep?
That is super interesting. I like that question. What made us? I mean,
Because, like,
my parents made me, so I don't know.
and what made them and what made them and what made them. And but the robot, if a robot was religious, it's like, well, it already knows who its god is. We are its god. We created it. So what would they like? Do they have a soul? Like that? It's questions like that. Like, would a robot you made have a soul? If the answer is no, do we have a soul?
Ooh. Well, I mean, first of all, we have to quantify what consciousness is, or not even quantify, qualify first. There's no way we can
Yeah.
quantify it. I think that's practically impossible. Qualifying consciousness is extremely difficult. Obviously, it's never been done before because no one really understands how it works. All we know that our brain is a bunch of electrons and
Moving.
electric impulses firing back and forth and whatever.
And that actually, I think, perfectly goes back to like my original topic, is like how why do we do what we do? And I think like back to why I drink soda, it's because most likely because of the dopamine. I assume I enjoyed drinking soda, and the electrons in my brain organized in such a way that
The neurons. I said electrons because that's
neurons.
what travels, but
Okay, the neurons in my brain basically said this is a good thing to do, but knowledgeably I know it's not, but the electrons in my brain don't care, if that makes sense. It's more so they just release an electrical discharge that makes me say, yeah, we're doing the right thing. Air quotes around right thing, because as I know, and as most people who ever took health class knows, soda is not good for you.
mm-hmm.
So, but now I don't do that anymore. So why do I like? Is now the electrical discharge? Do I have dopamine for resisting it, or do I just have I like surpassed the dopamine? Have I overcome it and seek dopamine elsewhere? It's like why am I not doing it anymore?
Well, you, in some way, shape, or form, have incentivized yourself to not do it.
So
Well, what's your current incentive for not drinking soda?
it's bad for you,
That's it.
kinda, yeah. And I wasn't in the best of shape like a year or two ago, so I reached a point where it was pretty bad for me, at least in for me personally, and I was like, well, I this isn't good, and I don't know if there's like an opposite to dopamine, like that makes you upset or like more aware of like something is wrong rather than something is happy or stimulating. And I was just thinking, well, let's stop this. And I don't know, it's like because addictions are real. Like not forget soda. Like people get addicted to stuff because their brain kind of loves it and needs it. But there's that period where you have to like stop, and your brain still kind of needs it. It still wants it. So it's very I guess that's what makes us like human. What makes us awesome is like your brain is literally saying, "Go get the soda, go get the drugs, go get the alcohol," because that's what makes you happy, and we have the willpower to say, "No, I know this isn't good for me," or "No, I want to stop this now." Which I don't know. That's pretty interesting.
I mean, it's awesome the fact that people can reach deep down and have that willpower, but I don't think it's awesome that there's a mechanism that allows for us to even go down the
Original
proverbial
bad.
rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, it brings us to why we do what we do, and I guess pleasure is one of the biggest things why we do what we do.
Yeah, I mean, dopamine is extremely,
Powerful.
extremely powerful.
Yeah, no, dopamine is really powerful, but like it just takes over, man. Like you just can no, you can fight it, but it's really hard. And imagine a robot that you program it to do the right thing, and it chose not to do it for some arbitrary reason. Like what if it comes up with like I don't know, what if the like fake neurons or the electrons from a machine go haywire or mutate? I don't know what you would call a mechanical being breaking down, and suddenly they start doing things that they know aren't optimal, but they receive an alternate version of pleasure or alternate signal that signifies this is a good thing.
I mean, based on my understanding of how sounds so silly when you say it like this, but how machines learn, there is no such thing as pleasure. There's rewards. There are ways to penalize when you're conducting these machine learning experiments, and there are ways to reward. So just for instance, in reinforcement learning, when you want something to, or when you want, let's say, this algorithm to learn how to run a person through a maze, an artificial maze, you would penalize it every time it hits a wall and reward it every time it goes towards an open setting in that virtual maze. So stuff like that. I don't know if there's necessarily a digital version of dopamine or some kind of pleasure chemical.
Let's
it's
go.
algorithmic. It's all binary. It doesn't.
Shut
really...
up, Pete, with your binary. Let's go trinary. Listen to me.
No.
Listen to me,
ternary,
Pete.
First of all.
That's what it's called. I'm gonna Google this after this and post it in the description. But
do,
that's beside the point.
I would put all of my life savings on it.
Don't go that
I
far,
already
Pete.
know. I already know.
All right. We'll put it in the description. But let's take what you said. So they don't see pleasure, but they do reinforcement. They have a goal and they get rewarded for achieving the goal and punished for not achieving the goal. What if they create their own goals?
The thing is, they can't right now.
But if, like, because you were talking earlier about how what if they become sentient or conscious?
Yeah, but that's the whole essence of artificial general intelligence, and then super intelligence past that, and we're so far away from that.
Yeah, but won't that be scary if the machine can set its own parameters and decide which one is the more rewarding of the two?
Well, yeah, but it's only scary because you don't know what it'll choose. So here's something that
you don't know what the humans will choose either.
Yes, I know, but here's something that philosophically I think is one of the most interesting ideas that I've tussled with lately. People are so afraid of AI and machine learning and just the future of that technology because we are so afraid of ourselves, and we look at each other and expect the worst of each other. And we think that, if there's someone I don't know, they will always have my worst interest in mind and their own selfish personal gain in mind above mine, which is to an extent true, right? A person will do whatever they can to survive and whatever they can to get their own edge.
I think that's half true. I think everyone has their best interest out. I'm sure I like to think that most people don't have your worst interest out.
But that's what people assume, and that's why you look at this technology and you say, oh, we are just going to be decimated by this thing that will look at us the way we look at ants. Like we see an ant on the ground and we say, oh, I'll sidestep it. But if we're doing something and it's in our way, let's say you find an ant crawling across a table, it's like, it's in my house. Oh my God, this is disgusting. You just kill it without another moment's thought.
Right.
And it's gone. It's out of your life. And that's what a lot of people expect of a super intelligent being, which is not in any way an irrational thought. But we have this sort of survival mechanism in place because we expect that from each other.
Yeah, it's a killer be killed world out there.
Right. But that's sad. I think it's sad because I expect
more.
No, I don't expect more. I see the best in people, but most people don't see the best in each other. Like I want people to love each other. I want people to see the next person and say, "Hey, you're my compadre," for lack of better words. You are
my fellow human being.
My fellow human being, exactly. I don't see a reason for so much fear and ignorance and angst in human interaction.
I guess it's just instinct, I guess.
It is instinct. It's completely instinct. That's what I said. It's literally something that we cannot really take away. It's part of us. It's literally built into our survival complex.
Isn't it unfortunate that we can talk about it, but we can't change it, though? we have the ability to acknowledge the issues of the world, and yet... Because I'm pretty sure everyone on Earth can, point out problems for everything, and yet they still exist.
Well, the biggest key is always to provide a solution, right? I love to use the example. My mom even told me this today, but if you have a problem at work and you go to your boss without a solution, you look like a very, very silly person. So,
Yeah.
if you have a problem, try to propose a solution in some way. And I mean, of course, my solution is let's all love each other, of course, and just hold hands and sing Kumbaya, right? No, not really, but of a sort, it is that. I think that is just a lot more complicated, though, when you think about it.
It is, because at the end of the day, let's really bear it down to whatever the nub is. Or that's not the expression. Shut up, Pete. Um, let's say we're both hungry, and there's a banana there. Who eats it? It's such a stupid example, but it's like, well, we're both hungry. We're starving. We're gonna die if we don't eat. The food's right there.
We're not gonna die if we don't eat. But yeah, I see
No, no,
your
no.
point.
Like, let's like animalistic. Like, if you're a wild animal, wild animals don't kill or eat grass because they feel like killing or eating grass. They're hungry. Like, and this is proved by if you bring the animals to if you like raise them from being a child in a not child, raise them when they're little.
Yes, yes, yes.
Even if you take a big cat or a wolf or even a bear, if you have it as a baby and you raise it in the human world and you give it all the sustenance, they will be very happy and they won't be killers. They're just gonna play. They might play rough because they're bigger than us, but they're a lot more tame than, let's say, the one that has to literally fight for itself. So what's the right way? We cannot raise everyone, if that makes sense. I can't teach everyone on earth, or I could try, but who's to say my belief is the right one? Who's to say your belief of world peace, everyone get along? What if I say no? It ruins everything, doesn't it?
I suppose what I'm looking for is for people to kind of understand rather than be forced to agree. You just understand other perspectives.
That's hard, Pete.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's okay.
It's fine.
Things that are hard are worth it.
It's true. The best things in life are things you work hard for.
Yeah, exactly. I want to bring it back also to the animal example. Because when you think about it, 5 million years ago, the humanoids that were living on Earth, they were the same exact way. They were hunting and not really gathering.
Some of them were gathering.
Yeah, sure. Not in big groups or communities, but they were hunting and surviving, right? They did the same thing, I'm sure. If there was another sort of humanoid creature close to them, they wouldn't hesitate
to kill,
to take them out if they were competing for the same source of food.
No, because there was the Roman Empire is one of the most famous empires in the history of humanity. And when you read Roman history, it's very glorious. It's very, I wouldn't say happy per se, but it's very romanticized.
It's glorified to the highest extent. So is ancient Greek. I'm Greek and I'm saying this.
No.
It is so romanticized, all of it.
Because who wrote those Roman textbooks?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not Romans.
And there was a famous quote, I forget who it was, Tacitus or someone, who interviewed, that's a YouTube video.
What was the general idea?
The general quote was something along the lines of, they make a wasteland and they call it peace.
Make a wasteland and call it peace?
Yeah. It's basically saying how they call themselves heroes, they call themselves like saviors, they call themselves the good guys, but at the end of the day, my land has been stolen, my people have been killed, and there's nothing here. They've destroyed everything.
Attributed by Tacitus?
Tacitus, not Cassitus.
And Agricola? Sure. Ravage, slaughter, usurp under false titles, they call empire, and where they make a desert, they call it peace.
Yeah.
Profound.
Yeah. I mean, it's true, because the Romans aren't going to write we were monsters. They're going to write we were the heroes who fought the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And it, were they monsters? Were those civilizations that they destroyed, were they bad people?
I suppose you can't really know for sure unless you had the other person's perspective or the other civilization's perspective.
But they still fought, and the winner came out, and they dictated literally a large part of society for it.
This is so funny because I remember my father always telling me this quote is winners write history.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, in this case it's exactly that, but the unfortunate part is a whole
civilization was
a whole civilization being wiped out completely, and then the people that quote unquote won, they decide what story gets told. And sometimes that story can be completely misshapen or completely different than what actually happened. And to be honest, I'd bet money that most of the time it's totally different than what happens because people will only want to tell their side how it benefits them.
Yeah, history is just written by the winner, so just make sure you win.
Don't lose.
Don't lose.
Don't lose. So we can come back to the creation versus destruction argument, but I don't want to because we are bringing it back to where we started. We're about to create something, machines, so to speak,
right?
That quote unquote, not even quote unquote, something that we already know will be true. They will surpass us in
calculations
to not only calculations,
think
cognitive ability by far. Because think about it, the way that our brains work are electrical impulses, right? But if you have something that can do the same thing just way, 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 way faster, then
you pick that one.
Of course you would pick that one. I mean, the only problem is that right now we have no bearing on the way our brains work. Okay, we don't have no bearing. We don't really understand a lot of the brain's function.
Whoever programmed us probably didn't do the best job.
Okay, we're not going to simulation arguments because I have so many things that I could say right now.
I am not a believer of this propaganda, this this simulation. I'm real, Pete. I feel real.
I feel real too.
Okay, good to know.
You're looking at me right now as if you already know what's coming.
I'm afraid.
Okay. We're not doing this. Not today.
Not today. Another time.
Another time when I feel like making you question your existence. No, I want to make you question your existence in another way. So let's say we build something that can interface with us instead. I know you know about Neuralink, correct?
Yeah, a little bit.
So let's say we have the ability to interface with these machines that we build in the future.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we don't have to compete with them in a Darwinistic sense or Darwinist sense.
We work with them.
Yeah, we synergize. We live together. We have a common goal, and each other's existence is held in our hands.
Okay.
That's the only way that certain people think that we can survive the advent of really super intelligent AI.
I mean, just don't make them decision makers. Just make them... No.
They already are decision makers.
You're right. Social media is a nightmare. But, I think, were you the guy who told me about the show where there was like an artificial intelligence that was in charge of like the nukes, and then there was another artificial intelligence, but this one wasn't. This one was given no supervision. It was allowed to make the decisions.
Person of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my close buddies recommended that show to me, and he is also a very
knowledgeable,
intelligent software engineer. Works as a software engineer right now, and we both took machine learning together our junior year, and so we already had a real interest in this stuff. And so he gives me this show, and right before senior year, I watched the whole thing and binged it in like 2 weeks. It's basically about a reclusive billionaire that creates this, literally called the machine. And this machine can distinguish events that will occur that can be damaging to national security. And it ends up doing the job way too well, once again, and not only finds terrorist attacks that might occur, but also finds petty larceny, robbery, theft, or even murder.
Every crime.
Every little crime that may occur, because it has access to every security camera, every sound, visual, like anything. It has access. So, yeah, this reclusive billionaire enlists an ex-CIA agent, and then they go and fight crime together. It's very Cinderella story, sure.
Okay, yeah, but the idea is
Yeah, the idea
scary.
It's interesting only because the way the show progresses is they have a antagonistic machine created by this reclusive billionaire's
Rival.
previous coworker, not even rival, previous coworker. They did this research together and they conducted it. And this guy invented his own version, but it gets into the hands of the wrong people, and then it decide, oh, let's let you decide what we should do. So literally, the way I think either season 2 or season 3 ends, out of all 5 seasons,
Spoiler
the
alert.
evil, I've already spoiled this whole show. The evil group, we'll say, they literally have a conversation with the quote unquote other machine, and the last word, the last phrase or line of that season, or last few lines, is the machine asks the people, what should I do? What would you like me to do? And those people say, what do you want to do? So they literally, the season ends on this thing buffering, calculating, deciding what it's going to do. How is it going to proceed? What's its next motive? Its next decision?
That's funny.
It's weird though, because the previous idea of the whole show was there's no way you can let the machine actually dictate anything that happens. It's a very closed system, and both of them were designed in a similar way. That was the idea. But then as soon as you ask it an open-ended question rather than a binary yes or no question, it's forced to make calculations it's never done. And when you have models of that complexity that we end up programming, we have absolutely no idea what's going on under that.
So it's stuck.
It's not necessarily stuck. It's more like
Calculating forever.
It's doing stuff that you don't even expect to do.
Okay.
So, yeah, the rest of the show goes, that thing tries to sort of just make human beings into
machines.
Not really, just create world peace, but in unethical ways.
By brute force.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to speak, which is, it's
the
unethical. Ultimate
question, freedom or security.
Yeah, that's the interesting part.
Yeah, but that's a topic for another day. So, in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, you did the outro, Pete. You did the intro, Pete. Come on.
Okay. Even if you build a super intelligent machine that ends up taking over the world,
or you drink too much soda and you have to compensate by drinking water,
stay positive.
See ya.